This episode is brought to you by Buffalo Trace Distillery. Powerful yet smooth. Contained but never tame. Proudly going their own way, but never going alone. This is the spirit inside Buffalo Trace Bourbon. Made at Buffalo Trace Distillery, the world's most award-winning distillery. Buffalo Trace is always perfectly untamed. Distilled, aged, and bottled by Buffalo Trace Distillery, Franklin County, Kentucky. 90 proof, 45% alcohol by volume. Learn more at buffalotracedistillery.com. Please drink responsibly.
And welcome back to the Boundary Corner podcast with my partner, Brian Siegler. I am Curtis Wilson. This episode is brought to you by Dr. Lord Jeremy Counts at Main Street Pharmacy in Blacksburg. If you love this podcast, if you love the Hokies, if you love the town of Blacksburg, make sure you are supporting the Main Street Pharmacy when you make your way to town.
Whether you need prescriptions, a tube of toothpaste, or just want to stop and say hello, let Jeremy and his team take care of you. The money you spend at Main Street Pharmacy goes towards the things you support. So next time you're in Blacksburg, head on down to 301 South Main Street and let them know Curtis and Brian sent you. Buddy, we are back after a week off. How you feeling tonight, man?
I'm feeling great, man, but I am feeling we have so much to unload tonight.
Just the last, 48 50 hours, man. It's been
holy crap.
It's been a frenzy. We were putting this together, this episode. We started putting this together into last week, and we're like, we got enough to get this episode, but it might not be a long one. Then everything happens. Well, okay, we got an extra 20-30 minutes we can pad on here and talk about. So
let's hope it's an extra 20 to 30 and not an extra hour, because that could be potentially what happens tonight. I mean,
hey.
It's all
sometimes that's how it goes, man.
And it's all good time, and that's one of the big things about it. This is a lot of good stuff in this episode, a lot of good stuff. And where we decided to kick it off tonight was the stuff that happened on Sunday, and that is all the commitments that came down after a big OV weekend up in Blacksburg, and where the Hokies got 3 commitments to the class of 2023. And with that subsequent commitment, Brian, we looked and hovering about 40. We still said 35, but we knew there were some guys we could potentially land. And I told you, I looked after the 3 guys committed. We were at 34 overall, 33 composite. And with those 3 commitments, which we're going to discuss here in a minute, we're up to 30 overall with the 247 and 33 composite. So a massive jump for the Hokies in the rankings, and something that you said a year ago, 30 to 35 next year is where I want us to be, slightly above of where we finished last class off, and it seems like we're right on that track for you.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like that's where we're trending right now. A big close, maybe another 1 or 2 to kind of close it out would be nice for sure.
It would be.
But we're almost at a full boat at this point.
Yes, we are.
I think we're probably keeping one spot open to see what happens with a certain
Richmonder
linebacker that will remain nameless for the time being.
He doesn't need to remain nameless. I mean,
So, but other than him, and maybe one other, that's out there that we've been following lightly or heavily the last 6 to 8 months. This is kind of what we're working with here. But I mean, 3 big ones over the weekend. We heard about some of the. We had a bunch of commits that were back on campus this weekend.
Yes,
and then
they
we
were.
had a good handful that we were hoping to kind of either flip or close on this weekend, and we had a pretty good percentage with that.
Pretty good percentage for this class and the portal, which we're going to just do the portal by itself because it's its own beast right now. But let's start, Brian, with the sort of lead dog that started the trend on Sunday night. And, it's the borderline 4-star wide receiver, Aiden Green out of Powell, Tennessee, and Powell High School. 6'1.5", 170 pounds, held offers from Cincinnati. Arkansas, a lot of different places for this kid. And, it was one of those, they felt like if they could get on campus once he decommitted from Cincinnati,
Yep.
I think they knew they could get him. And next thing you know, voila, it happens. He's in the top 550 for the country, top 80 receiver. So you're getting what's viewed as a good player. Did you have a chance to look at any highlight reels?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a guy that could potentially come in and be a potential immediate impact player.
Okay.
I don't know if he's going to necessarily be kind of in that 3 or 4 man rotation, but I think he could definitely be somebody that you're going to see out there in year one, kind of doing some things for us. Really good athlete. I like his hands. Moves in and out of his breaks well. So I think he's going to be a big addition for this team. Whether he has immediate impact in 23 or whether we're waiting for 24 before we really see what he can really do, that's going to be the big question. But very solid pickup.
Yeah, big question about a lot of these guys, and I think this is something we'll start finding out in the next few weeks, is who's coming in early. Obviously, anytime you come in early, that immediately, helps them out. And, with Green being wide out, it is a position of need. We know that. So if he's able to come in, pick up the playbook quick, potentially there. With him, little underweight, I'm hoping he's one of the guys that chooses to enroll early just to get quickly into a weight program that maybe by the end of next summer he's put on 10 to 15 of good weight.
Especially at a need position. If we're talking about guys that we want to get in early, any wide receiver, offensive lineman, or DN that we can get in early, all the better.
Yep. And just an FYI, primary recruiter, man making some hay lately, Fontel Mines, does work on
He's starting to put up walls around the 804, man.
He
starting
is.
to put up walls.
Well, let's talk about the guy who he essentially pulled out of the 804, and that was Jeremiah Coney over at Hermitage. I mean, a mid 3-star guy, but 6'1.5", 194 pounds. Now that weight at running back, that makes him a little bit potentially more ready out of the gate. We'll see what you think with the film. Was initially committed to Appalachian State, and it's one of those. There are just certain G5 schools in certain positions. If they recruit, you feel like it's something. For App State and how their run game has been really the last decade plus, if you flip a running back from them, you feel like you've done something because they have a reputation. What's the tape saying so far on him?
This is a guy that could push for some playing time early, just because we do kind of have a void in kind of a bigger body running back now. We got Thomas coming back. He's going to be the all-purpose. Hopefully he can stay healthy. King's very good. Change of pace back. We're looking for that kind of big body running back that has some good vision between the tackles. Do we end up addressing that in the portal, or are we going to kind of put that on a true freshman that's coming in for us in Jeremiah Coney? Because he's kind of in that big body area. I think, we'll see if he can kind of get closer to that 200 range if he comes in early and on campus and has an off season with us. But there's some potential there as well. So I like his game. Like I said, big body, good vision, breaks tackles well. So I think he's got some potential to be there. But I mean, another solid pickup. Fontel Mines doing his thing in the 804, which we love to see.
Absolutely. Now, do you see someone like him? Do you think definitely running back? No, he played some linebacker in high school, but is he definitely a running back in your eyes?
Yeah, I think he's definitely a running back.
Okay.
Just his skill set, everything overall, he's definitely a running back. I think he's got potential where he could play on the other side, but I wouldn't, unless it just doesn't work at running back, then I wouldn't entertain that.
Yep. And to that point, I'm looking here, scrolling up and down. Stu Holt was his secondary, so that even more kind of solidifies likely going to be in the running back and stay in the running back room once he gets to Blacksburg. All right, so the last one was, I think, the most surprising. I think when we heard Green's going to get on campus and Coney was taking that trip after they both decommitted, that was one of those, okay, if we get them there, we likely are going to flip. The other one came out of nowhere because it was such a late addition that he was making the visit. And that is the quarterback out of Springfield Central and Springfield, Mass, William Pop Watson III. A composite 3-star, 247 has him as a 3-star quarterback. And originally committed to Nebraska. And I can't remember who made a comment about it. Something about Mark Whipple. Yep. If Mark Whipple likes him as a quarterback, you have some other stuff there. And just overall, I mean, had interest from programs like Tennessee, Oregon, Michigan, Kentucky. And you don't know the level of interest. But the reality goes they were interested in him. He lands at Nebraska. Nebraska, even the last 3 or 4 years, losing a bunch of one-score games, was still pulling top 15, talent-wise. And even though he's coming from Massachusetts, it's not a big football state. We all know that. Yeah. But occasionally you can find, diamonds in the rough from Massachusetts, and we Hokies know that very well. But what are you thinking of him, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I like this kid a lot. Like looking at his game, I mean, he's a true dual threat. He's not just a running quarterback. He's not just a passer. He's a guy that can kind of do it all. Really good footwork. Really good polished mechanics as a quarterback for a high school player. Consistent, whether he's throwing on the run or whether he's standing in the pocket. So, I mean, that's good to see. Not great arm strength, but he can make all the throws. Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be somebody that could potentially push for a starting role in a couple seasons.
All right. Now, when you say polished passer, does that just mean it's refined? When you don't see it, if someone's under his foot, it's still the same mechanism? Is that what you mean by polished?
Whether he's throwing on the run, whether he's standing in the pocket, whether he's getting pressured, those mechanics stay pretty close to the same, which means that he's going to be delivering a good ball every time. So, right. I mean, there are occasions where he'll miss, but it's consistent. And when you can do something like that consistently, you can kind of work on the other parts that contribute to accuracy as you're kind of building on that.
I got you. All right, so with that takes the class up to 23 total, likely only 22 that will be on full football scholarship. Jimmy Mullen, the wrestler. I know there's some stuff out there that, it's one way or the other. Sometimes they have to be counted to football if they're playing football. But either way, I think you're right. I think we're just a handful of guys away from finishing off this class. I don't know if it'll come potentially next Wednesday, or if it's going to be something after the Wednesday date of getting the additional players. And obviously the big one is sitting down in Verona right now. And that would really be an absolute cherry on top of this second class. And also the way this class is held together after not the best on-field results.
Yeah, I mean, especially, we talked about since the season has ended, between the in-home visits and the stuff that's happened the last couple of weeks on campus, They've really done a good job of kind of keeping everybody together, keeping everyone on the same page, and kind of keeping everybody in the boat and committed and ready to roll into the season. Particularly guys that were getting some decent push to do other things. Thinking more of Lance Williams and Dante Lovett here, who did get some other legitimate Power 5 offers, kind of down the stretch there.
Yep. So it'll be interesting. We'll be obviously watching that next Wednesday, seeing what all happens. But now let's go to sort of the bigger story now this time of year, right? Because it's now that college football has changed and the portal officially opened.
It's the name of the episode, man. Portal season.
It is. The portal opened roughly 8 days ago after the college football playoff was announced. And, we had DJ Harvey go in before our last episode. And since then, Matthias Carroll, Lakeem Rudolph, Desmond Muhammadi, Armani Chapman, Enzo Anthony, Keyshawn Artis, Jason Brown, Eli Adams, and then maybe the one that surprised us all was Caleb Smith. Other than Caleb Smith, Brian, anybody else a shocker to you on that list or made you go,
No, I mean, the ones that stand out are probably Carroll, just because he did get some run kind of to start the season, but he had gotten, I think, kind of pushed a little further down the depth chart than he would have liked as the season went along. I think Rudolph, with how the linebacking core, some of the younger guys in the linebacking core have come along, it's just only 70 mouths to feed, right?
It's true. It's only so many mouths to feed. It's only so much of what you can do, and the whole approach this year, it looked like from Brent Pry, because he mentioned a few weeks ago 30 to 35 guys he had to have conversations with. That's a lot of people on the team. Even if you get up to the 120, that's roughly a quarter of your roster. And, it's which way can the conversations go? And then who chooses to go in the portal. I don't think we're done seeing guys enter the portal yet. I have a feeling a few guys are probably going to enter sometime between now and the first of the year.
3 to 5. They're probably waiting for that spring money to kick in, and then they'll figure that out.
But as much it was, we starting to see that. We know we're losing a lot of guys anyway, just because of the COVID year is going to be gone. It did not take long for this coaching staff to jump right on it and get in there. And the first one is maybe somebody here that should have been here a long time ago. And currently, I'm looking at On 3. If you guys haven't checked out, On 3 is really dipping hard into the transfer portal. Like, they are essentially creating rankings, stars, and the Hokies quickly right out the gate, a guy that should have been here a long time ago, like I said, the number 4 ranked portal entry, Ali Jennings. Everybody should know that name very well. Played at Highland Springs, went to West Virginia, and he played at ODU 2 seasons. This season, 9 games, over 950 yards, 54 receptions, 9 touchdowns, almost 18 a reception. And it wasn't just him sitting here like, oh, he just beat up on the little schools. He just beat up on the schools that don't have all the talent. I mean, it was every school. I mean, we saw what he did to us late in that game. He beat Dorian Strong on one of those underthrown balls. He put 200 up against ECU. He almost put 100 against UVA. He put 129 on Liberty. The kid balled. And I think later in the year against Georgia State and Marshall, he did have his 2 lesser games, but he hadn't played since November, so I had to go look and see if maybe he got a little bang up. But what a land for the first guy in the portal to commit this season, Brian, an immediate automatic starter at wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, that's a position upgrade right out the gate, and that's whether the situation with Caleb Smith ends up with him coming back to the Hokies next year or not. We talked about it when we previewed ODU. Ali Jennings is a legitimate NFL caliber wide receiver. He's got that type of skill set. Getting a guy like that at Virginia Tech is huge. It's huge. It's definitely one of those. It's a culture builder. It gets your eyes on your program. It says, hey, this can be a destination for this caliber of player.
Yep. And it's great to see. And again, we continue to talk about the 804 and Highland Springs and Hermitage and Verona and schools like that. I do have to say, I wonder how much of the relationship building that's been happening in that area came back and helped land this one. I mean, I know the Fontel Mines connection was big, right? Fontel recruited him down to ODU, but how big was maybe Lauren Johnson? How big was that coaching staff where Brent Prine, that entire staff is getting the trust from Highland Springs now, and phone calls were made, and potentially Ollie, I would assume he still speaks to his coaches in high school like most guys do, and ask them if it's the rest direction. We're starting to see the fruits of that labor come through.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely kind of like I said, building that foundation that Coach Price tried to talk about. Like this is a culture building type move, and hopefully this isn't the end of the run. We're going to see some more big time names get put and attached to the Hokies going forward, man.
Absolutely, and it didn't take long last night to happen to go ahead and get number 2 from the portal in Kyron Drones, a 6'2", 195-pound. He is coming in, and he'll be a redshirt sophomore next year. So 3 years of eligibility left. Out of Baylor, we finally landed the 4-star quarterback out of Texas.
4-star quarterback out of Texas. Wow. Yeah. And so this is big for the Hokies because, we talked about quarterback being, other than wideout being the position we had to target in the portal, especially from a skill position standpoint. At least someone to push Grant Wells, if not an upgrade of the position. I've looked at this guy's tape. I think he's an upgrade from Grant Wells in every aspect. He's got a live arm. He's got more athleticism. He is strong as an ox.
About the squat tape, we see he's strong as an ox.
Yeah, I mean, he's putting up 585 with, I wouldn't say ease, but he's putting up 585 easier than most people do. And a lot of people that have, 60 to 80 pounds on him would put it up. So really, really strong player. Saw some extended action against West Virginia, did really well other than kind of a late pick when he kind of got in trouble in the backfield. But did really well overall against that defense. Had some other games where he saw some action this year. So overall, I think it's a significant upgrade from Grant Wells in terms of ceiling. If we're talking about floor, I think the floor is a little higher than what Wells's is.
Oh, okay.
So higher floor and the ceiling is, much higher in terms of what he can do, just because he's got more athleticism and he's stronger and he's still got the arm to go with that.
Are you also going with a higher floor because of, I would say, the less baggage? And I'm not trying to completely knock Grant, but we knew Grant had a propensity for turning the ball over. This kid, he played in 5 games. He's taken 20. He's basically threw 23 balls. Does that adjust your floor as well? Because with Grant, we talked about when he transferred, if he can clean up the interceptions, it would and he keeps the higher production with the passing, it can be okay. Is that one reason you put that floor a little bit higher, because of essentially the lack of maybe scar tissue?
I'll say it's not just that. I'll say it's a couple things, and I'll give a shout out to Chris Coleman on this one when we talk about a shifting in philosophy.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, man. Chris calls the storm earlier today already, but I'll let you go ahead and continue with you back in Chris's play.
When we talk about the shifting in philosophy, what I think we're not going to see next year is as much of a reliance or over-reliance on the run game and play action. I think we're not changing schemes, but we're changing philosophy of how that scheme is being executed in a game plan week to week.
Okay.
So you're gonna see some more pass to set up the run. You're gonna see the ball getting out of the hands of the quarterback a little bit quicker. You're gonna see more running with the quarterback, whether that's option, read option, things like that. You're gonna see a little bit more of a mix and match of the philosophies, and less just power run, play action, or dump down to the tight ends. There's not going to be kind of that. I mean, and that was what we kind of rolled into the season with. We were like, okay, we're going to run the ball, we're going to work the short pass game to the tight ends to try to move the sticks, and we're going to take deep shots down the field to try to get some quick strikes through the air. And it was literally hit or miss. If we hit a big gain in the run game, if we were able to hit some of those big gains in the passing game, we looked all right. When those weren't there and they started keying in on the tight ends and we couldn't run between the tackles, it looked as ugly as an offense as it could. What you're getting with Drones is an ability to open that up some more, both with his athleticism and with his arm.
So it's a lot of what you're saying is with this shift, especially with the running, probably more RPO quick passes, essentially you're forcing an additional either linebacker or safety to commit to the inside. Versus with Grant, even though there were times when they let him run, he did pick up some yards. But this is truly that dual threat that a lot of people clamor for at Virginia
True dual threat. Again, you said RPO, and that's what it's going to be. We're gonna be putting linebackers and those kind of spill area players in a lot more conflict this year with a player like Drones.
All right. Well, for everybody, spring's going to be fun.
Yeah, we got a big draw to the spring game now.
Big draw.
Because we got at minimum, two big pieces that are getting added to that offense.
Absolutely. All right, want to flip next, Brian, and we kind of already hit this while going through the portal, but kind of the farewell to certain Hokies. And, we already talked about, Jason Brown. We talked about Armani Chapman, but, Jalen Holston heading out. Drake Doodle is heading out. Jaden Blue, and it looks like Caleb Smith, he's in the portal. Does he come back? Does he go elsewhere? Obviously, Silas Danzy and Johnny. On the defensive side of the ball, Garbett and Griffin, Dax, Chamari Connor, Breon Murray, and DJ Harvey. When we look at this, that's some production gone right there. You can say what you will. You look up and down there, guys who are starters.
Most of that production is Smith, and then the big veterans on defense.
The vets on defense, along with steady play from Silas and Johnny. But as we look at this, and you say farewell to them, I don't think with this list, maybe with the exception of Garbett, there's not like a glaring. I think we see Chris Marv and we see Chris Marv coach the linebackers. That unit got better this year. The safety units got better. We saw the young guys play. The
more young guys played, the better the units got.
Ooh, man. Okay. Hey, you go at your piece, man.
I mean, are we watching the same tape? I mean,
it's true.
The more they got acclimated, and I'm not just saying that the veterans didn't get the job done. A lot of them did. They played well. But the more that we got the up and coming players involved in the defense, the more consistent that defense looked. Both, I'd say, the linebackers and the safety and cornerbacks in particular. I think defensive line, it was more of a mixed bag, right?
Just somebody's telling you that Bryant Cobbs is agreeing that this is an accurate statement, Brian. Just so you know, somebody out there is in agreement with you. Well, let's look on the offensive side of the ball. And let's look especially at the line. And it seemed like every time Braylon Moore, he had his errors, but there were times when it came to running game, he was just monstering people. and we saw Xavier Chaplin in that last game. And Xavier Chaplin played one game. So you're talking about get them acclimated. And I think I mentioned something to you from day is Brent Pry decided to build this from the inside out, not the outside in. And I really think that's why we're seeing what we saw last year, because he's essentially creating the culture inside, right?
Yeah.
If he creates the culture inside and you build everybody here versus bringing a bunch of people in.
Well, I think it's twofold. So I think when we look at it, we knew there were holes last year. We filled the holes that absolutely had to be filled with what we could fill it with, and what the philosophy was at the time. But what I like that I'm seeing from this staff is, you said building from the inside, but also the ability to evaluate, pivot, and put a plan in place and then execute that plan. So we're already seeing it now with getting drones in, with getting Jennings in. We've identified the areas of need. We've identified the missteps in philosophy relative to the talent that we have on the roster right now and where we can address that talent. And we're adjusting and putting a plan in place to execute.
Yeah.
And so far we're executing that plan pretty well in terms of the guys that we needed to close out for the 23 class and who we needed to prioritize in the transfer portal.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask this, and this is going to go back to the portal piece while we talk about, obviously, you're losing two good offensive linemen. We saw Chapman Moore play. You got Clements, again, finally going up versus down finally at the end of the season.
He wasn't awful at the end of the season. He was just mid. Which, I mean, if he'd have been mid all year,
shit.
Okay.
We would have been a little better. But let me ask this, because what we haven't seen and we don't hear much buzz from, or I haven't, is we're not hearing a lot of buzz with the offensive line.
The big thing to me is that targeting in the portal with the linemen is a little bit more difficult than some of the other position groups, because it's a lot harder to get a good eval of guys that aren't starters on other teams right now. So you're either looking at taking a chance on a guy that is going to be stepping up a level, whether it's FCS or G5, or you're taking an even bigger risk on a guy at the Power 5 level that's only been a rotational or full-time second stringer for a P5 program. So I'm thinking there might be something where he's taking a little bit longer to eval, and we're going to see offers later. Now, I hope we don't end up missing out on cream of the crop guys because of that, but I get a conservative approach in terms of evaluation, because part of the problem that we ran into this year is we had guys that didn't fit what we really needed to do from a philosophy standpoint, and it took a longer time for that to gel, for them to get comfortable with the system and things like that.
All right. So we'll see how that goes over. What do we have about? I'm trying to do the math here. About 37 days until the portal officially closes, which is, again, I know that's one thing you're happy about. It's got an opening date and a closing date. You can't just be committing in the middle of the year. These are the times. All right, a couple other notes concerning football, or one other note. I'm glad Mansour Delane got named to a freshman All-American team. That kid deserved it, the 247 freshman All-American team. Obviously not a consensus or anything with multiple lines, but at least one did recognize his talent. So kudos to him. Again, makes you feel better about that secondary room as we get into 2023. Another thing to note on, because we're going to talk hoops here in just a second. What a win. I don't know if you got to see this, Brian, but what a win for the Hokies on the mat. The Hokie wrestling team takes out number 7 Missouri at home on Sunday, 17-15. This was the second time in as many years they've upset Missouri. Missouri is a top program in the country. especially after coming off the heartbreaker to Ohio State. This team's good. That's all you can say. They're good, and hopefully hopefully national championships come out of it this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is another. I mean, top to bottom, it might be a better squad than last year. I think it's a deeper squad. We'll see if it's as top heavy. I think it can be. And you pushed Ohio State to the limit. You got a big win at Mizzou, so I think that we're moving in the right direction here.
It's going to be interesting because over the next few weeks, they got Stanford, the Cornell, and in January is going to be pretty big. Cornell, another good wrestling program. And then obviously we look at early, mid-January with NC State, essentially the slowly but surely becoming the wrestling rival at Virginia Tech and in the ACC. All right, well, let's talk some hoops next, Brian. Let's flip it over, and let's talk about the men's team first. We looked at this stretch of games that they had to go through starting at Minnesota, which we got to talk about. And we said, go 500, great. Go 3-1, hoorah. But to go 4-0, beating Minnesota handedly, beating UNC, beating the brakes off of Dayton, and then a game me and you got to watch together in the second half on Sunday, beating Okie State. I mean, let's start with the UNC. What a win in general against the Tar Heels. You take a look at that game. The Hokies really dominated until about the 4-minute mark in the second half, and North Carolina made their run to get back in it. But, Justin Mutz in the second half, 21 points, gets a double-double. What else did you see from that game that really impressed you on that Sunday? And unfortunately, they keep giving us Sunday games, which is, thank God we have man caves where we can watch multiple games at once. But
you were over when we were wrapping up the game against Okie State, so
I know your setup's great, dude. It was we're watching the NFL games and we're keeping an eye on the Hokies games, so it's you got to have at least 3 TVs, guys. It's just a rule.
Yeah, so I mean, looking at the UNC, I mean, I know they were short of Armando Bacot, so they were one down, but I think we did a good job of taking advantage of that and, Mutz beating them up in the boards. That was huge. And just overall keeping them in check and not really letting the moment get too big when they started that run. They said, okay, the run's here, weather it. And we've seen that a lot from this team this year. They've given up some leads, but they've generally weathered the storm and then been able to kind of close things out.
And as they did here, they weathered that lead. Hunter Couture lights it up from 3. We keep talking about that 47. We were 37 against Carolina. A couple more percentage points lower, and maybe it's a different outcome, or maybe it's a lot tighter. But, I think what's happening is we know we need a second ball handler, because that's normally when it starts happening, right? Getting a little sloppy with the ball, maybe a turnover, maybe forcing a bad shot because of not moving the ball correctly.
Turnover and a little bit of some transition and perimeter defense, which I mean is also kind of going back into, all right, is our primary ball handler and our secondary ball handler getting gassed as we get later in these games? That's the answer. Yes. So Rodney Rice, when he's ready to go, that's going to be a big one. That's going to be a big one.
Soon,
hopefully by the new year. Hopefully by the time we're lacing them up in the new year.
Absolutely. So 80-72 victory there. The Dayton game. I did not watch a minute of this game. I didn't even listen to it on the radio. I was out of town for business. Come back out to eat, and I'm like, well, let me get on my phone. Let me see what the score is. And I was like, there was a sports bar down the street. I'm like, they probably have it. By the time I got in, we were up 18. let's just say, needless to say, I didn't go back out to watch 18-point blowout because I mean they just had, and I don't think we expected this. We expected Dayton to be at least a formidable opponent, and they just took it to them.
Well, they were predicted to finish 1 or 2 in the A10.
Yeah, always a good basketball conference,
and they're not going to finish there.
No,
although A10 as a whole is down this year.
mm-hmm.
So do with that what you will, but
still,
it's important. I mean, you still got to take care of your business, right? I mean, that's still a solidly talented Dayton team. They're not garbage.
No,
but we made them look that way. You
almost beat a team by 30 from the A10. It says a lot, especially if it's a Dayton, a VCU, those type teams from the A10. And again, I didn't even have to go back out. I just sat there and I can't remember what game was on TV. I watched that and just kind of updated, and it grew bigger and it grew bigger. And it was like, Lord have mercy, we're going to beat them by 40, which almost happened.
Almost.
All right, let's talk about the game we got to catch the second half together on Sunday, the Oklahoma State versus the Oklahoma State Cowboys. I watched the first half. We're getting ready to come over to your house. 9-point lead. This is good. I get to your house, and that lead is all but gone and in Okie State's favor. And I was like, Brian, what's happened? You know, what the heck happened in these first few minutes that I missed, and you were kind of hanging out there?
And I mean, in the first half, we were, you know, they had a lot of turnovers. We were able to take advantage of some of them, probably not as much as we should have. That lead in the first half could have been probably bigger than it was. And then in the second half, you know, you come out, you miss a couple bad shots, you have a couple bad turnovers, and they're hitting, right? They're clicking on the offensive end, at least early in that second half. They hit about 2 or 3 threes in back-to-back possessions. You know, we weren't putting points on the board. We were having a whole lot of empty possessions, and that kind of that cuts into a 9-point lead real quick.
Yeah, it does. Well, when we look up, I remember when me and you were sitting there talking, it was like they essentially had went on a 21-8 run to open the second half and completely flipped it, took the lead on themselves. But give this team a lot of credit. Give a lot of different players on this team credit as well, because they really showed a lot of heart, a lot of an old term we don't use anymore, but a lot of grit. You know, you had Kidd give solid minutes off the bench, even though he didn't score much. Same with Michael Collins. Poteet, 8 points, 6 boards. Played some good position defense down low. He made their I cannot think of the guy's name, their big guy, Boone maybe. He made him work. He had to work for his points in the second half, especially later. And then all of a sudden, about 3 minutes, tie ball game, basically the Hokies just go on lock, essentially outscore them 12-7 in the final 3+ minutes. And in this game, in reality, you look around, you know, Mutz had a solid game. Grant had a solid game. Padula had a solid game. This wasn't like UNC where it was Mutz. And a few games ago, it was Padula. And earlier in the season, it was Grant. This was essentially that game where it was all parts. And it had to be all parts just because of what happened with that run early in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, you had a couple guys in foul trouble. You know, Mutz had to go out for a good portion of the second half. So that's why you had guys like Kidd step up, Poteet step up. Obviously, Grant had a good game. We saw Padula hit a couple big shots there when we were down to kind of get us back even and get us the lead. So I mean, it was a all hands on deck effort to close that one out, and we've had a couple of those this year so far that I think have prepared us for that type of atmosphere when we get into ACC play.
Absolutely, I think some of these games they rack our nerves. They maybe make us go a little senile, a little bit crazy. But reality is, you just said it, Brian. There's going to be games under 5 minutes in the ACC, and it's a 1 or 2 point game or a tie game, and this team's went through it already.
Yep.
They know how to lean on things. So
we've seen it Penn State. Now it took care of Okie State.
Yep. And finally, Brian, after going 10-1, they finally get ranked this week, number 24.
Yeah.
I still feel that's low.
About time.
Yeah.
They should have been 24 last week.
And probably 20 this week, but it is what it is. Next game up is Grambling State, which is next Saturday. And I think BC is next Wednesday.
Grambling State's going to be a sneaky good matchup. That's one we can't sleepwalk through.
No. That can't become a Charleston Southern.
No.
That can't become a Charleston Southern. You need to go ahead and put what you got out there and close the door early and finish the game. All right. Want to talk just real quick with the ladies hoopsters. I mean, obviously they dominated BC, start to finish. They dominate UNC Asheville and win by 38. But it was the game preceding those two and the win over at Tennessee. And I know Tennessee this year is not what they were last year. They were a top 10 team last year. I think they're 7-4 out of the gate this year. But either way,
that 7-4 is deceptive. I mean, look who they lost to and what the score was and how they lost.
It's true.
It's not. I mean, I know they've fallen in terms of being a ranked team, but they're much better than their record indicates right now. So you can't just look at the point outcome and say, all right, yeah, well, that's you skirted by an unranked team. Yeah, this is a little different. A little different than that.
it's to me, that's why I'm saying they're not a top 10. They're a top 25 team without a doubt, but they're not a top 10 what they were, I think, last year. But just to get the win on the road there, that was a absolute nail biter at the end. It could have been an easy win, but that is what it is. The big one, though, to me, the game this Sunday determines if we're just a good team, Sweet 16, Elite 8, or if this team has a Final Four run in it, because Notre Dame's women's team is essentially one of the elite women's teams in the country. I think they have one loss this year. They're number 6 or number 5 in the country. I mean, and there's your test. You go out there and win that game. That is a signature win for Kenny Brooks. It's a signature win for the program, but that also puts people on notice that this team can win a national championship this year.
Yeah, I mean, they're on the cusp.
It's close.
They may not be a favorite to do it, but they're certainly putting themselves in the dark horse category.
Abso-freaking-lutely. All right, Brian. One more thing before we hit the break here, and if everybody in the college football world hadn't been paying attention, Mike Leach passed away today. And if you ever watched interviews with the guy, I mean, it wasn't going to be about football all the time. It was going to be about some random things that make you chuckle, make you laugh. They were showing different interviews. I forgot. 60 Minutes interviewed him like 12 years ago.
Yep.
You always kind of wonder how that Scott Pelley felt when he go interview Mike Leach. Oh, it's a football coach. This will be easy. What? But I
don't think there's a topic that you could bring up that he couldn't say something about that was either thought-provoking or mind-fucking.
Or just hilarious.
Just hilarious.
The whole thing about the marriage thing, if you've seen the marriage when he had up at Wazoo, right?
Yeah.
That one we talked about. Oh my God, it's just hilarious. And obviously, as much as he was a personality, he was himself. The guy was also a supreme intellect. The guy got his JD from Pepperdine. The guy was smart. And if we talk about it, we've talked about we're in a day and age where air raid is as common as wishbone was to our high school youth.
Yeah.
And he was the guy that did it. Hal Mummy was the guy who brought it to the mainstream. Mike Leach made it work in the mainstream. What he did at Texas Tech and what he did everywhere. Because everywhere he went, the programs got better with that offensive system, man.
Yeah. And took the non-traditional roads. Some would say because he had to, and some would say because he wanted to. And probably both are a little bit true.
Absolutely. And, he was a character. And, and we were talking with our buddy Robbie Compton today, our coach buddy. And Robbie actually got the opportunity a long time ago when he was coaching at our high school, called up. They were trying to implement some air raid concepts into what they did, called up Texas Tech, said, hey, we want to come see you guys. And him and David Techie, who's the guy, he's the head, that's Robbie's head coach down in Wilkesboro. They got a chance to go out there for a week and spend time with Leach and his staff at Texas Tech to understand those concepts. And this was probably one of the cooler things that happened. Brian, you saw Robbie talk to us because he was like, what story? There was more than one Mike Leach story Robbie had. So he got to meet him, and this was Lincoln Riley was on staff. Ruffin McNeil was on staff. So Robbie and Dave got to know those guys, and then they coached at ECU right in their backyard when they were down in Greenville, North Carolina coaching. And the one he told us about was really cool is they were at an AFCA clinic. And for those who don't know, AFCA is the American Football Coaches Association. They have big clinics every year. I think it's in February. So it's right after the season wraps. So a lot of high school coaches get to go to these. A lot of them take the time to go because you're in seminars, everything.
I don't know if it was always in Orlando, but this one was in Orlando, correct?
I think this one was in Orlando. Yep, it was in Orlando. I'm looking at the message Robbie sent us here. And so they go there and they run across Coach Leach, and he called them over. So first of all, these are two guys from a small high school in southern rural Virginia. One of the most well-known collegiate football coaches waves you over at this conference. And from there, he took them. This is like a who's list. He went and introduced them to Gary Patterson. Then he introduced them to Bob Stoops at Oklahoma. Then he introduced them to Mac Brown. They got to hang out with Ruffin and Lincoln a little bit, who were on the staff at that time, even more at the AFCA conference. But here was the funny part, and this is where it's like Mike Leach. So as he's introducing our buddy Robbie and Coach Witecki, he told all the coaches, these guys are from South Boston, the one in Virginia, not the one up north where they whack people. And I think that's a perfect summation of who Mike Leach was.
Well, number one, the fact that he recalled that information from previous interactions with, again, two high school coaches that he came across one time before that.
Exactly.
That's impressive. The interjection of the humor there is impressive. This is probably right around the time when some movies like Mystic River probably just came out. The Departed probably just came out. Yeah, so.
But yeah, it's one of those things where you get the story like that, and if people ever were to question and say, well, I looked at Mike Leach's stuff, that doesn't seem real. Like, nope, we have someone that met him that can confirm what you saw was what you got. Rest in peace, Coach Leach. You will be missed for your humor, for just your creativity, man. And it's a great coach going way too soon, Brian.
Yep, you changed the game, and you did it with the smile on your face, and you put a smile on everybody else's. So rest in peace.
Yes, sir. All right, before we get into some more topics tonight, we are going to take a quick pause for a message from our digital partners.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. From streaming to shopping, Prime helps you get more out of your passions. So whether you're a fan of true crime or prefer a nail-biting novel from time to time, with services like Prime Video, Amazon Music, and fast free delivery, Prime makes it easy to get more out of whatever you're into or getting into. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to learn more.
As we take a quick break, we'd like to tell you about getting your free website report from our digital partner, Grassroots Digital Marketing Studio. They'll tell you how your website ranks on Google, on-site SEO, and social media. No commitment to buy anything. You can get your free report by visiting grassrootsdigitalstudio.com/free-website-report. Now back to the episode.
All right, Brian. So we definitely have some other things we want to talk about, just college football related. And obviously, since we last talked, a boatload of coaching hires have taken place. And we're going to focus just on a handful, but I want to mention the other ones that have gotten hired. I think one that definitely surprised me, I don't know if it surprised you, was Troy Taylor out of Sacramento State. The FCS program gets the call to go over to Stanford. Did not see that coming. At all. But did you?
Nah.
Was Troy Taylor on your list for Stanford?
Troy Taylor was not on my short list for anywhere, let alone Stanford.
All right. So he goes there.
And that's no disrespect to him. I mean, I think it's still it's an interesting hire. I don't think it's a bad hire. It's an interesting hire.
Well, they did this previously. They did this with Harbaugh, because Harbaugh was at San Diego, which was an FCS program in the state of California. The difference is everyone who knew who the hell Jim Harbaugh was. Nobody knows who the hell Troy Taylor is. So it's like we're going the same route, but this time we have no notoriety. It's just a good football coach. And from the looks of Sacramento State, he is a good football coach. So there's that one. Now, a couple of the other ones. Let's roll these out. USF takes Alice Golish, the Tennessee OC. We'll be very interested to see if that affects the Tennessee offense any, since Heupel does have his hands so involved. I also find it interesting UCF goes down the route of coordinator with really good offense again. The Jeff Scott hire from Clemson absolutely was trash. And I don't think he's a trash coach. I just don't think some guys are cut out to be head coaches. Was FAU shocking to you with Tom Herman, or is it just one of those he's reintroducing himself?
I thought he could have done better, but I think it's a good, if he wants to get back into more of a blue blood program quicker, this is probably the better route than taking a risk on a mid-level P5, and if you fail, you're pretty much setting yourself back a good ways.
Coordinator forever when that happens. Kevin Wilson will be leaving Ohio State to head down to Tulsa. He has been an offensive coordinator there for a while. He also had been a head coach at Indiana. Sounds like second swipe at a head coaching job. Obviously, I was watching Tulsa closely. They didn't do what I think they do, but it is what it is. I mean, I'm just being real. How about this one? How about this one for you? UAB hires Trent Dilfer, who's been coaching high school.
Is UAB trying to find the white Dion?
Wait, nah, because if they were trying to do that, they would try to hire like Peyton or somebody, not
Trent Dilfer.
Not the guy that literally, what is it?
Trent Dilfer is a game manager, though.
He was a game manager.
I mean,
he's always had some good insights on the boards. Next few here, we want to talk about before we hit kind of the ones that are really affecting that, or I see more affecting the Hokies. Lance Taylor, the running back coach for Notre Dame, takes Western Michigan. He's the run game coordinator there, so not even an OC yet. I mean, I guess some guys it's just, and I don't know where Lance Taylor's from, so maybe he's from that area, and it's just one of those, I'm going to take the chance. Yeah. It's a head coaching job. Here's a name, and I'm very shocked by this. Barry Odom went to UNLV. He is recently at Arkansas. I know they had a 6-6 season, but kind of shocking to see him go that direction to a program like UNLV, which is, the old guy was there, had a couple okay seasons, but it's not like one of those. It's not like a San Diego State or like a program like that out in the West where you feel like they can get up pretty quick and be good.
And that's not to say UNLV can't and hasn't. It's just it's not as ready-made of a situation for a guy like Barry Odom. We'll see if that ends up working out. It's definitely a different path than he took last time, so you kind of see how that works out for him.
True. All right, and with that, let's go to the ones that I think one that could have been impactful, and the others that will be impactful. The one that could have been impactful, if he had taken potentially any job that was open, the Louisville, the Georgia Techs, et cetera, et cetera.
Any East Coast ACC or adjacent
school. Deion Sanders goes to Colorado. And everybody can talk about all the stuff he said. That is what it is. I think a lot of those things take place like that when coaches get places. I just think he's got publicizing it. But him in Colorado, me and you discussed this, Brian, and it's if he goes and wins at Colorado, if he just wins 4 games next year and he gets up to 8 games in year 2 to year 3, what's going to happen?
He's going to get blue blood offers
quickly.
Yeah. This is essentially, I think, a 3-year plan for him at Colorado. I think he just has to make a bowl year 2 and 3. If he gets that team, as awful as it was this past season, to a bowl in year 2 and year 3, especially if you're at a 7 or 8 win team in year 3, they're gonna come calling.
Yep. And to me, I think this is why he took that job too. I don't think Deion needs money. I think Deion, between endorsements and playing 2 sports for basically close to 10 years, as the pay scales were starting to go up in those sports, I don't think he needs the money. But I think what he saw is, if I
also been an analyst, the money in that game has risen significantly. So he's been making good money there too.
Well, between NFL Network and Barstool, he's making good money doing that stuff before he jumped over to Jackson State. But I think this is a program where he looks and says there is nothing expected. And by that, he could say, even if I win 3 or 4 games next year and be like, oh, you're a failure, I'm turning this program around. I'm building it. But he knows if he can make it a quick turnaround, he's going to get a blue blood offer. Who knows what that might be? I think just for our sake, he did not go to a more mid-level ACC school like we were about to discuss.
Yeah.
Because
also, thankfully, Mike Norvell had a good season.
Well, but let's talk about that real quick. If Florida State goes and hires him, okay. If Florida State goes and hires him, it's more of a trickle down for us than it is an immediate.
Sure.
Because if he steps in somewhere like Louisville or Georgia Tech, that's immediately he's going to be feeding off the blue bloods while stealing from similar level programs like Tech. And that's where, that's the one that worries you. Colorado, you feel like it's going to be more of a California, Texas.
You're essentially saying FSU eats at a higher level of the food chain than we're doing anyway.
They do. I won't even, if anybody wants to argue about that, let's argue about it. But that's just the way I feel. Now, the next one I want to talk about, and I think you were pretty excited when this guy got hired because you've watched his offense a few times and we can prepare for it, and that's Liberty hiring Jamie Chadwell out of Coastal. Chadwell, who'd been getting a lot of buzz, basically gets a 5 times pay bump to go to Liberty. He'll be eventually in Conference USA. So it's a lateral move.
It's a lateral move. The only thing you'll say, he's getting paid more and he's in a less competitive conference at the same level. So same prestige, less competitive. And expectation wise, he doesn't have to win 10 games every year anymore.
True.
He can win 7 or 8, and they'll probably still be happy.
Very true. But as far as the Hokies who are going to be playing this team for the foreseeable future, unfortunately, both in Blacksburg and in Lynchburg, you mentioned to me about looking at it like you were like the day Hugh Freeze went to Auburn, it was like, thank God, no more preparing for that shit. Yeah, it's like you look at Chadwell's offense is like, we can control this.
I mean, ODU can control it. I think we can control that if ODU can control it. And look at the strategy that ODU put out there, kept that offense in check, was able to do more offensively than I think a lot of people expected against them. I think the blueprint is kind of out there on what Coastal is doing now.
True.
And what Chadwell was doing at Coastal. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see if Grayson follows him.
That's fine because Grayson McCall's got 1 year left, right?
Yeah.
That's fine. I think the bigger thing about this, and I think for us it's more of not a sigh of relief. Maybe it's a sigh of relief, breathe. But what Hugh was doing was Hugh was essentially taking Division I guys, and because he was Hugh Freeze, he could recruit them to Liberty without an issue, right?
Yeah.
Not an issue. Come here, play for me. I can develop you. I can get you moved on to bigger and better things. I don't think Chadwell's got that clout. I think Chadwell is going to have them recruiting both for high school and portal where they should be, where Hugh Freeze has been well above their pay grade for the last few seasons.
Hugh Freeze made his hay in the portal. Chadwell is going to be all about, just like he was at Coastal, taking guys that are 2 and low 3-star guys and getting more out of them because they can operate well within his system.
Absolutely. By the way, there's one other thing here. I didn't know about this. And it's not Netflix, Robbie. It's Hulu. It's a Hulu series that is talking about Liberty there. So Jamie Chadwell in a Hulu series. All right. Let's go.
Are there pool boys involved?
Potentially. He was at Myrtle Beach, man. So, I mean, yeah. All right. The last two I want to do.
He's used to that scene, then.
The last two I want to hit tonight, sign of interchangeable, is Scott Satterfield leaves Louisville to go to Cincinnati, thus opening the door and allowing Jeff Brom in. Let's start with Satterfield first. I think Satterfield just felt the heat. I think Cincinnati, once Luke Fickell left, they knew they needed to get a proven P5 head coach as they make this transition over to the Big 12. And I think for him, it's like, well, now my ass is not on the hot seat anymore. I'm going to go. I think that's all it was.
Yeah. He was off the hot seat. He was off the hot seat enough where he would get this type of offer, and he struck while the iron was hot. And, I mean,
he's probably safe.
Who of us wouldn't have done that?
A lot of people wouldn't have. But he's now safe to 4 to 5 years. For them, they know that he's a quality coach. Is he going to blow the doors off of everybody? Probably not. But is he going to be able to settle them into the Big 12? Yeah.
He's got a solid floor.
Yeah,
they know with that transition, they're not going to enter there, and he's going to be god awful. He will keep them at least above that kind of 4 to 5 win threshold. It might miss a bowl, but it's not going to be by more than one game or so.
Exactly. But when that happened, unfortunately, and I do not like this. I do not like this at all. He is not a great recruiter, but the guy can coach. Jeff Brom to Louisville should have everybody's ears perked because we saw him, we saw him knock off Ohio State. We saw him hang with some of the big boys when he was at Purdue, including the Big Ten championship game where they took Michigan to the third quarter with the game. That guy knows what he's doing. He knows how to coach quarterbacks. It's not like I'm so scared of him, but now the next time we play Louisville, it's going to be a damn fight because of how good of a coach he is.
My question is, you tell me what you think. I'm not sure why Jeff Brom took this move.
It's alma mater, man. It's alma mater.
That's the only thing I can feel because At best, it's a parallel move. And if you look at the other intangible factors like media rights and things like that, it's a step down.
It is, but I think it's going home. I think he knows he goes there. He's got more leeway. And he probably has about the same amount of leeway at Purdue, but I think it's just one of those things. He played there.
Probably a harder path to a championship game, too, at Louisville. So,
probably. Well, I don't know.
Without divisions?
Well, no. But the Big Ten is going in the direction of having no divisions now.
Sure, but
I mean,
it's still a harder path.
I guess. I just think it's one of those home things. I think it's one of those he wanted to probably go back home. I mean, Braum isn't a spring chicken by any means. I mean, Braum's in his early 50s. He's probably – I mean, he's been coaching – I mean, he played essentially for 7 years, and he's been coaching for almost 20. He's basically been coaching since he was, in his 30s. Maybe it's one of those, if I win here solidly, they're going to keep me around 10 years and I can retire. I'm interested to see if Brian Braum comes, because his brother did coach on with him at staff. Everybody knows Brian Braum. That poor guy took the absolute biggest, worst beating I've ever seen a quarterback take when the Hokies played them in the Gator Bowl about 16 years ago. We did shit out of him.
Absolute shit, yes.
That was at a point watching that game. Go back in your memory. It got to a point where it's just like, I mean, I'm glad we're beating their asses. I kind of feel a little bit sorry for him because they are doing nothing to help. But there's your coaching carousel. Purdue still open. Obviously, with the passing of Mike Leach, Mississippi State will be open. It'll be interesting to see what they do. But that pretty much, I think that went a lot faster than anyone expected. It seems like guys got locked in, and the next thing you know, just about everything's filled up. In the game of headsets. So let me go real quick, and I know we don't have them all up here, but who is, since we've pretty much rounded it out, best hire of the bunch?
I mean, best hire? It's got to be Colorado. I mean, I think trajectory-wise, that's going to put them back in the discussion within 2 years.
Right.
I'd say a close second is going to be Louisville with Jeff Braum.
All right. Well, I should have said what we talked about, the original set too, because I'm still think Hugh Freeze. I think Freeze to Auburn is still the best one, because he knows he can get talent there.
We haven't talked about – did we talk about Purdue?
Oh, did they hire somebody today?
Ryan Walters.
Ryan Walters. Why does that name sound familiar?
DC for Illinois.
But that name sounds really familiar. Oh, this is a new one. This is breaking. Brian focusing here. Ryan Walters, a 36-year-old. Where did he play? Was he in the league or anything? No, he played at Colorado. I don't know how I feel on this one. I
mean, with us playing Purdue to start that season,
I'm glad about it.
They do have a defense, so I mean, we're gonna get. He is good on defense, I should say. I don't know if we'll see Purdue playing that style of defense out the gate, but I mean, he's definitely somebody that can come in, and with the pieces they have, I think their defense are gonna maybe cause us some problems, but
we'll see. We'll see, but they just lost an offensive guru that kept them in games, so we'll see how it goes there. All right, Brian, let's hit this real quick. A few things on this. Did you applaud the committee about 8 days ago when they announced Georgia, Ohio State in the Peach Bowl, Michigan, TCU in the Fiesta Bowl?
Yeah, they got it right. If you're going to pick 4, they got it right.
All right, can I ask you this? If the Rose Bowl hadn't committed to 2024, would they have done something stupid to force that play? Maybe. Political play? You know, let's just irritate the shit out of someone.
Well, I mean, I think we said it. We said, whether they put Alabama in or out, it was going to cause a ruckus. And I think it would cause more of a ruckus if they put them in and then leaving them out.
Absolutely.
Mainly, and when you look at the resumes, it just didn't make sense to put Alabama in there. Like, eye test be damned, you still have to play the games. You still have to win the games. Having good losses doesn't matter if you didn't win anything.
Well, my best piece was watching Saban on that Saturday night. I didn't get to see it all. I saw clips. We'd be favored in Vegas. You were also favored against LSU and Tennessee, and you did win those games. So
yeah, you still have to win the games that are in front of you. I mean, we don't just play this game on paper.
Touché.
If we played the game on paper, you'd be the national champion every year, every other year.
Touche.
Because maybe Georgia and maybe Ohio State sneak in there year to year because they might have a little bit of better class, or the combination of classes might be a hair better than Alabama's a given year. But most years, give or take, it's going to be Alabama right there, right? So that's why we play the games.
That's why we play the games.
If you, I said it in a tweet, if you want to be in and you don't want to have this conversation, then win enough games where you're not sitting at home during your conference championship, especially with 2 losses.
And they wouldn't have been there either way this year, regardless if there were divisions or not in the SEC, which I think the SEC is getting rid of them soon too. All right, New Year's Eve, I'm sure you're going to be making a big spread, getting a good bottle. Which game are you looking more forward to?
You know what? I think Michigan TCU is going to be more interesting to me.
Okay.
Because I think TCU can score, Michigan can stop. We'll see where the rubber meets the road there. I think the difference is going to be Michigan's rushing attack. I think it's just going to be too much.
And that offensive line is a bunch of monsters, including, they got the Remington. I saw that guy won Remington and Nagurski, right?
I think so.
I know he won the Remington, the center. I mean, I'm more interested to see this. I'm more interested to see if Ohio State can actually hit their potential. Because I don't think they've hit their potential all year on either side of the ball. And now they've been reprieved. This is 2014 again. They've been reprieved. They're playing a Southern team in their backyard that has a very good defense, but a game manager at quarterback. We all remember how that game went in 2014 when Alabama left crushed in the Sugar Bowl. So we'll see. I'm just looking forward to both of them, and eating good food, having a good drink. All right, so we just kind of mentioned this a few minutes ago with the Rose Bowl, who have amended their contract, and it's finally happening. 2024, we will have 12 teams playoff, and looking at it too, I think it's also going to be just eyeballing where the championship game is. It is going to be a return of importance to New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. I think it's going to go back to like when we were kids, where if there were games those days, it was implicating national championship type stuff.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing, is that you're going to see New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. Those games not just matter now again, but they matter in terms of the big picture.
The big picture, that's going to be quarterfinal games.
Yep.
Honest to God, believe that. And it's a return to glory to me for those days. Because I remember as a kid, there would always be that New Year's Eve night game that was of some importance.
Yep.
And then New Year's Day, you always had the Rose, the Sugar, the Fiesta all over the place. But the reason I say that, and people are like, why are you saying this? We haven't heard the schedule yet. But one thing we know already, and as soon as they dropped this, I called Brian, and me and him talked about 30 minutes on it. The championship game is on the 20th. That is effectively 2 weeks later than it has been being, roughly. if that's the case, well, when are going to be the home dates? The home dates would likely fall like on this weekend. It would be the first weekend of bowl season, like every year. We'll talk about it in a few minutes here. We're going to pick some of the games real quick. 16th and 17th are your first big bowl games. My bet in 2 years, that weekend, which is the 20th and 21st, that's going to be your home playing games. Because then, okay, you're going to give everybody – you're not going to change conference championship week, right? But everybody's going to know and roughly have 2 weeks to prepare, whether it's fans buying tickets, teams making travel arrangements, et cetera, et cetera. Then you get the Army-Navy game, then it's this, right? It's this perfect sequence. And then obviously New Year's Day, quarterfinal games. And then what did I show you, Brian, about when I think the semis would be? And you started looking, Doug, and you were like, crap, that actually makes freaking sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're looking at what we said, kind of that, what was it, like 8 or 9 to 14-day window between kind of each round, depending on where New Year's was falling.
Yep. But when we looked at it, the last weekend of the NFL season, in which everybody knows, last weekend of the NFL season, Brian, are there Thursday night games?
No.
Are there Saturday night games?
No.
Are there Monday night games?
No.
It's one day.
Everything on Sunday.
Everything's on Sunday. And if you look at the way it's going, I think they're going to be targeting that Saturday every year because there's no competition with the NFL. But for casual football fans who are getting prepared for the last weekend, wait a second, it's 2 of the biggest college football games right here, probably at 4:30 and 8 o'clock on a Saturday night in the middle of January with nothing else to do.
Yep.
And then roughly after that happens, you roughly have about, a 9-day window until the national championship game.
Exactly.
So they're voiding the NFL.
Yep. So we're looking at, I think what we said, 7, 8 to 12 between each round in there, like we said, depending on where that New Year's Day falls. And that's going to be big because it's going to give them an opportunity, like you said, to have full reign of a Saturday again. No competition from the NFL. You got your own day there. It's on a weekend. You can have like a 3 or a 5 and then have your 8 or 8:30.
Yeah. But it's all yours. And it can be a build-up. There can be a huge game day at both locations. These are going to be bowl games. And that does sort of stink a little bit because, but that is what it is. But again, I think just looking at 10,000 feet, it's like this perfect here, 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 here. And it's 4 games in a month, but with enough break time in between for the players to essentially get the appropriate amount of rest. You're not going on a 5-day short week. Everything's going to be thought out. And maybe in the future they move the game back to like a Thursday, which would make sense because I hate Monday night games. It kills you unless it's your team playing. All right, Brian, let's make some bowl picks because Friday afternoon they start. Weird glutton.
Yes, they do.
Weird glutton for punishment. Let's hit up here the Bahamas Bowl. I don't know how this bowl doesn't get more fanfare because it's the Bahamas in December. It's like 80. It's breezy. It's nice. It's Miami of Ohio versus UAB. I'll lead this one. I have no clue, but Trent Dilfer manages games, and that team is going to manage a win to impress their new head coach.
Yeah, I'm going to go UAB as well. I think they get it done. It feels right.
It just feels right. Now, the next one is actually a little bit more interesting. And to me, of that first weekend, it might be the most interesting bowl game. It's the Cure Bowl on Friday night with the 25th ranked UTSA Roadrunners versus number 24 Troy. UTSA wins the Conference USA Championship. Troy wins the Sun Belt. What do you think on this one, Brian? Because you feel like these are 2 very well coached football teams, both with, I think, double-digit wins already. I feel like it's going to be a good game just because of the level of competition for both.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good game, but give me T-Roy. I'm going to take Troy here. They finished the season as good as any team at the G5 level.
Okay.
And as good as a lot of teams could in the country altogether. But the way they finished the season, I think they're gonna close it out and take care of business.
All right, I'm gonna go against you here. Jeff Traylor down at UTSA, the guy who legitimately had coached high school football for like 20 plus years, and then just UTSA, hey, do you want this college job? He takes it. He's been successful there the whole time. His only 2 losses this year are Houston and Texas. And the Texas game was legitimately a game until the late third quarter. Beat some really good teams in Conference USA, dominated most of them, dominated their conference championship game. So I think UTSA takes it. Just to be contrarian, just so, we're watching it Friday night.
You're wrong.
You're wrong. All right, so on Saturday, a slate full of games, 6 bowls. Everybody says, why do they keep bowl games on? They suck. But you know what people are going to do Saturday? They're going to, it's cold outside. If they have shopping to do, they're going to get it done in the morning. Then they're going to come back and they're going to crack a beer open or pour a little glass of little mixer there, and they're going to sit their ass on a couch and they're going to watch bowl games all stinking day. And it starts with the Fenway Bowl, Louisville versus Cincinnati. Can we please have both the coaches on the sidelines for this one, just for pure hell? It's also a revisiting for the Battle of the Keg of Nails, an old rivalry trophy.
So you get an old rivalry trophy, you get the coach swap, and you get a layout where typically the teams are on the same sideline.
Exactly.
It doesn't get any better than this.
And it's an 11 o'clock kick, I think. Let me check. I think Fenway's always an 11 o'clock kick. Yes. And it's breakfast if you want. If you want to eat breakfast, you have yourself a Bloody Mary.
Brunch time.
Brunch.
Get you a mimosa, get you a Bloody Mary, get you a Benny.
Get you something good. All right. So who do you got? I got to lead this one, right? I'm going to say this. I think Louisville's going to take this game. I think the addition of Braum definitely gets them a little bit more of a boost. I think losing Fickle is a lot for Cincinnati. I think this is going to be an entertaining game. Just knowing both styles. I think Malik Cunningham, I think he's playing. I've not seen. He has not opted out, has he?
I haven't seen that he has, so I'm assuming he is until I hear otherwise.
Let me just make sure here. He's day-to-day. He got banged up a couple weeks ago, so I don't see anything. I'll take Louisville in an entertaining game at Fenway Park.
I'm going to take Cincy here just to be contrarian. I think this is going to be an interesting game regardless. Both teams have similar level talent. You could argue Louisville probably has the best playmaker, since he probably has the better top to bottom roster in terms of what they've been able to do. So I'll take Cincy by a hair there.
Just to have something to text about that morning, right?
Yep.
All right,
let's go. We're enjoying our Bloody Marys.
We're enjoying our Bloody Marys. Absolutely. All right, let's go to this one. I don't know how this bowl doesn't get more recognition. It's in freaking Vegas. But the Las Vegas Bowl, Florida versus Oregon State. Oregon State 14th, obviously pulling the huge upset over Oregon in the Civil War on Thanksgiving weekend. Who you got in this one, Brian?
I'm taking Oregon State. I like the way they closed the season. I don't like what Florida looked like down the stretch. I think this is Oregon State's.
All right. Oregon State. I'm with you there. If for nothing else, with Anthony Richardson declaring for the draft, which to me he should not be declaring for the draft. I don't get that.
Correct.
I do not get that whatsoever.
You're at least a year too early, son.
Way too early. There was not enough development this year in his game to go. And
also with NIL, there's less reason to jump unless you're fully ready. Like I just, a quarterback like him at Florida could rake in
250,
easy,
300.
Easy,
maybe even higher.
Lower in 6 figures, right?
Yeah.
If that's not enough to float the boats that need to be floated until your game is where it needs to be to take the next step, don't go, man. This isn't 2 years ago when you make this type of decision. You're looking at your long term versus your short term. With NIL, it's a different kettle of fish.
Who plays quarterback for Florida? I don't know. And I haven't researched it that far, but it's not Anthony Richardson. So, and that is right, isn't it, Anthony Richardson? I'm not losing my mind.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. It's one of those days. All right. Let's go next out to the LA Bowl in Wazoo versus Fresno State. I'm taking this one real easy. Fresno State on a roll, beating Boise for the Mountain West title. I think they continue to do it in their backyard. Give me Fresno to keep it rolling and knock off Wazoo.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Fresno State in this one. Probably not even whatever the spread is. I'm taking Fresno in the points.
Fresno's only laying 3, so you got to be favored on it. All right,
definitely give me Fresno.
All right, the next one is the ugliest one of the day. It's the Lending Tree Bowl. 5-7 Rice versus 6-6 Southern Miss. They happen. Yes, we know. The 6-6 teams happen all the time. Rice shouldn't be here. Southern Miss.
Yeah, give me Southern Miss. Give me the Favre scandal. Let's do this.
How many times will the Favre scandal be discussed on this telecast, which is going to be on ESPN? I'd go 5.
They're at least going to lead with it. They're going to lead coming out of halftime. They're going to have some sort of expose somewhere during a good a timeout where they don't go to break. It'll be something.
Absolutely. All right, couple more here for Saturday, and we're going to hit next week's games up until when we are live next week. New Mexico Bowl, SMU versus BYU. Who are you taking in this one, Brian?
Man, this is a tough one. I think I'm going to roll SMU here, though.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. SMU closed the season strong. Winning 3 of their last 4. The only loss was to AAC winner Tulane. And BYU's just been kind of up and down like all year. They've played good some games. They've played bad some games. So I'll go with the team that's been a little bit more consistent. I'm with you with SMU. All right, late Saturday night, Fresco Bowl in Frisco, Texas. The runners-up of the Conference USA and Mountain West, Boise versus North Texas. I'm going to take Boise. North Texas, kind of luckily to get into the CUSA championship game. You kind of look at what they did. Probably their best win all year was probably that's the thing. Their best win all year, maybe La Tech, maybe Western Kentucky.
Yeah.
Not saying a lot, so give me Boise.
Yeah, I'm riding the mean green here.
All right. North Texas for Brian. The Myrtle Beach Bowl, Brian. Marshall versus UConn. UConn, give your old Colts head coach son some credit. Went up there and coached them boys to a 6-6 record versus one of our lead favorites last year for the Hokies job while we were sitting here over a year ago discussing that, and Charles Huff, who, big wins this year against Notre Dame, big wins against App State. But what are you thinking on this one?
I think UConn has the better story. I think Marshall has the better team. Marshall takes it.
I'll go with Marshall too. I think Marshall will also have likely a home field advantage down in Myrtle Beach. All righty, that's a 2:30 kick on Monday afternoon. Can they push those back? Can they all be 5 o'clock kicks? It's a little bit. It's like Tuesday. You got 2 games on Tuesday. You got Eastern Michigan versus San Jose. It's a 3:30 kick at the Potato Bowl. I don't know much about either of these teams. I'll just go Eastern Michigan.
I'm gonna go Eastern Michigan too.
All right, the Potato Bowl is
I'll
that.
ride it.
All righty, so then we got the Boca Raton Bowl. The question is, will this bowl end up in a fist fight as it did a few years ago when Memphis and BYU played it, which was always interesting. This year it's even more interesting that it's Liberty versus Toledo. It's Liberty versus Toledo. Who are you taking in this game?
Boca Raton. Give me. I'm gonna take the Flames.
You're going to take the Flames. The Hugh Freezeless Flames, I think, go down in flames. I think Toledo, they won the MAC. Probably should be at a slightly better bowl, but that is what it is. Toledo, to me, had a really good year. We picked against them a couple weeks ago. I think Toledo takes this one. All right, there is only, I believe we got one more. Let me pull that up here. On the 21st, so a week from tonight, and a week from tonight, the New Orleans Bowl. But a week from tonight, we will be sitting here with Talibans, with Jeremy. Y'all, if y'all have not watched this episode, watch it live. It's super entertaining. Because
we got Jonathan Talley, Spaces expert. Bama's biggest Hokie fan. We got everybody knows Dr. Lord Jeremy Counts. We've done this. We've had Jeremy on the last 2 years. We had Tally on with Jeremy last year. I feel like this is going to be our annual state of the program yearly episode where we bring these two on.
Absolutely.
And just we're going to cut up. We're going to talk, kind of close out early signing day, and then we're going to cut up and talk the program and hit every corner of what happened this season, what's happened with the class, what we need to do between now and when spring practice starts up. Kind of touch on a little bit of everything as we kind of roll into the new year.
Absolutely. So next Wednesday, not Tuesday. I was going to ask Brian if he could do it Thursday, but I gotta accommodate. But
Thursday I will be in South Boston, and if you remember last year, the internet connectivity issues I was having, so I'd prefer to be able to do it while I'm still here because I'm not relying upon South Boston internet connections
at all. I'm just more upset. I told you I'm going to have to take it easy because I got to work the next day. I can't do what I did 2 years ago when I was off. That was
all three of us were hammered that one.
Oh man, now that
full
was
hammered.
Yeah, full hammered.
And all of us were feeling good, and Jeremy was feeling real good last year. So
yes, he was. Jeremy's promised he's going to pace this year. We'll see how that goes.
Brian says, "I'm just going to tell it. Just eat a full meal, man.
Just eat a full meal." All right, one more game to pick. It'll probably be back here on the television screen as we are talking to Jeremy and Tally next week, and that's Western Kentucky versus South Alabama in the New Orleans Bowl. South Alabama 10-2, Western Kentucky 8-4. So two pretty good G5 teams going at it here. What do you think on this one, Brian? Even though we won't be you'll be watching it. It'll probably be right there for you, but
it'll be above me while I'm throwing back some shots and crushing some beers while we talk state of the program. But I'm going to take Western Kentucky here.
All right, good deal. I'm going to go opposite of you for the last pick here. I'm going to go South Alabama. South Alabama 10-2. Their only losses this year were to Troy by 4. And they lost, if you remember, the UCLA game early in the year where UCLA pulled a freaking miracle and scored a touchdown with I think it was a field goal with 2 seconds left. Like literal miracle. So give me South Alabama. All right. Other than the Ryan Walters news, which came out of nowhere because I guess I hadn't looked at my phone close enough in the last few hours here. What else you got, Brian?
That's all we got, man.
All right.
You ready to close whenever you are.
Well, let's close this thing out and wrap up this episode of the Boundary Corner podcast, brought to you by Main Street Pharmacy in Blacksburg, Virginia. I'm Curtis Wilson.
I'm Brian Siegler.
Visit our website, boundarycornervt.com, to listen to all of our episodes. While you're there, don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube account and your favorite podcast source, including Amazon, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. As always, we let our buddy Jason Long, he plays us in, he plays us out. Right now, no live events for Jason.
It's cold.
It's cold, but they have breweries down in Roanoke, so I definitely foresee
the farmers market is out of play, though.
Farmers market is definitely out of play because 38 degrees ain't fun to play guitar in. I'll tell you that much.
No, it is not.
All right, check him out. His website, jasonlongmusic.com, where it will link to all of his music on Apple and Spotify, and his YouTube and his Facebook pages. We thank you always for listening. And as always, let's go.
Hokies.